What is going on, people? This is Brian Mazik, aka Franchise Play, and I am here with another video about MLB The Show 17, and we're talking about my favorite part. This is my favorite part. Anybody that knows my channel knows it's my favorite part. If you're new to the channel and you're just jumping in on this, please click subscribe, especially if you are a franchise mode gamer like myself. That's what I do. If you click subscribe, make sure you click the little bell next to it so that you can get the email notifications when I post a video or a live stream. I'm trying to focus almost entirely on franchise mode stuff. I know that's not necessarily the stuff that gets all of the views, but I'm realizing more and more, man, that's just what I am. That's who I am in this whole gaming niche. And, you know, whether or not it's Madden, NBA 2K, MLB The Show, even stuff like FIFA and WWE 2K, the franchise mode concept is me. That's what I do, right? So let's talk about MLB The Show 17's franchise mode. They've done a lot of stuff. I've written some stuff up. I am also a writer for Forbes, for you guys who may be new to this video. I've written several articles on the show, and I've written some stuff on franchise mode. But let's talk about first and foremost what they're doing, the critical situations. They are trying to speed it up, basically trying to allow you to play through more games, through more seasons. You know, they've had this relatively deep franchise mode for years where you can go through multiple seasons, but not a lot of people get through it. Now, I can say for myself, a lot of you guys who follow my channel for a while, you see how difficult it can be to get through an entire season. Sometimes I have a hard time getting through seasons of other sports games, let alone MLB The Show. This critical situations basically is very much like moments. It drops you right in the middle of a game at a critical situation, whether or not right here you see the picture on the screen. If you're batting at home, you get a walk-off opportunity, maybe you get a tight save situation, maybe you're trying to finish a no-hitter, trying to get somebody's fourth hit or fifth hit in the game. All of those things constitute as critical situations. When you have critical situations mode on, your MLB calendar is simming through games, and it's basically picking these different situations throughout your schedule. So you'll fly through a lot of games if you decide to play like this. I'm interested in playing like a little bit of a hybrid. You know, sometimes I'll play full games. Sometimes I want to play critical situations. Sometimes I may want to play player lock, which is still an option this year, and they've shined it up a little bit more. I'll even want to do quick manage sometimes with the option to jump in. So I plan to put something together that allows me to kind of go through some seasons and doing some real like team building and organization retooling, that sort of thing. You know, that's what I'm really looking forward to doing. I may even do like an entire season where I do quick manage games only for one particular team, so I can try to build that roster up or build the organization up. So I'll be kind of doing it from a general manager standpoint, you know, and then maybe I'll do another one where I'm doing it strictly from a manager standpoint, where I'm just managing the game, not, you know, doing anything else but managing. The other time maybe we'll do it from a player situation. I did something very similar to this with Madden, but the show makes this whole thing so much easier to do. You can also try to extend long hitting streaks, which I thought was really cool when you're in critical situations. The individual based situations like that are awesome because they'll put you in a player lock situation. So if you're trying to extend a hitting streak, you're not controlling the entire team because your critical situation is based purely on the guy's hitting streak. If he has 3 home runs and you're going for a 4th, it's a player lock because you're just doing his situation. I think that's like crazy good, right? So I love that. Also, you can, like I talked about before, the quick manage thing is very much like the text-based games, like out of the park baseball, where you're just controlling the strategic aspects of the game itself. Are you going to hit and run? Are you going to pitch to contact? Are you going to, you know, change double play depth? Whatever you're going to do, you can do all of that stuff with quick management. I think that is pretty awesome. Now, I've talked about a few of these things before, but what I have not talked about that we just really learned about, I believe it was yesterday, is player quirks. So anybody who has played NBA 2K and you are looking at this, the first thing that jumps to your mind is badges, because that's pretty much what this is. But in baseball, this is awesome. You know, a lot of times people like I've said this before, they frown upon sports video game franchises copying off the other one. I don't frown upon that at all. I applaud it. If you are seeing something from another game that is working, why aren't you doing that? You should be doing that. Other series should be copying off the show in regards to the carryover saves. They should be doing that. Other collector modes should be copying off of Ultimate Team with how much content they create, but the Ultimate Team should be copying off of Diamond Dynasty and My Team with the amount of team customization that you have. Copying is a good thing, especially for the consumers, because you start to get the best of both games or the best of both worlds in situations, you know. So they have several player quirks. I am trying to get a list of the player quirks because I think that's an awesome list to have, especially if I can get it right before the game comes out. So we'll see about that. But here you have Anthony Rizzo's profile up, and he has unfazed. He excels when hitting with 2 strikes. If you are familiar with Anthony Rizzo, you know that is absolutely the case. He shortens up his swing, chokes up high on the bat, stops hitting for power as much, and starts to just spray the ball into the outfield to get on base. Very intelligent hitting approach. Rizzo does it beautifully. Have been a person who has watched, man, thousands upon thousands of Anthony Rizzo at bats. I know exactly that he does that. Breaking ball hitter. He is a superb off-speed hitter. He does not have to sit dead red. So definitely I understand him getting a boost there. You have Rally Monkey, performs better when the team is behind. Rizzo's a clutch hitter. He is. Fighter performs better in the 9th inning or later. Oh, my God. You do not want to be facing Anthony Rizzo in this game in a late and close situation. And situational hitter here, it sells at driving in a runner from third with less than 2 outs. These are beautiful. You know why I think this whole system, player quirks / badges, works really good in baseball, because baseball is such a situational sport, just overall, period. So you got a guy who is, and a Millennium from Operation Sports made reference to this example that I'm about to give in his recap of the stream. If you got a guy who is not a starter, he's on your bench, but he has the fighter badge, and you need a late inning pinch hitter, yeah, that's the guy you want. If you have a reliever who doesn't necessarily throw all that hard, he does a lot of stuff with breaking pitches and changing speeds, like Mark Melanson, and you have a guy on your bench who is a breaking ball hitter, yeah. All of this stuff, man. Then they have some player quirks that are fielding player quirks. We saw Manny Machado had some stuff that we didn't exactly get the explanation of what they do, but it definitely sounded like fielding quirks. And Machado was, obviously is one of the best defensive third basemen in the major leagues, if not the best. So it would make sense. They talked a little bit about how player quirks can affect or should affect your team building. So, if you may be looking to add a guy, for depth on your roster, and you're looking like, okay, I want to make sure I have decent pinch hitters. So you might be looking for guys who have stuff like Rally Monkey, who have stuff like Fighter, who have those kind of quirks to give you that little boost at the end. Some of the pitcher quirks I saw was Cheese, a highly effective Cheese. So a guy with a big time fastball. Then you got guys who are great at strikeouts. So what I noticed Millennium was talking about was shrinking the PCI. So that's the little bracket that comes up that dictates how well or when you make contact with the pitcher to batter. But if you play like me and you don't even use the PCI, you basically use the classic hitting style. Then my question, and I actually tweeted this question to MLB The Show. I don't believe I got a response yet. I'll check in a second. If you don't use the PCI, how then is it affected? How does those quirks come into play? So I'm interested in figuring out or hearing how that works. But just as an overall concept, man, this is phenomenal. I mean, just ridiculously good. I can't wait to see how this affects things. I want to see some base running quirks that players may have. I mean, I think it's even cooler stuff like, lead off, some sort of quirk that relates to lead off hitting. How well does a guy hit when he's leading off an inning? How well does a guy hit when he leads off a game? You got some guys who, like Ricky Henderson, had this crazy statistic without something like 40-something leadoff home runs in his career. So first at bat of the game, how many times did he lead off the game with a home run? Weird stuff like that. So this is a concept that they can build upon for years to come. They can even take information or take suggestions from the community of what quirks should we add, that sort of thing. I think it's going to be awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, I'm going to switch tabs here. And yeah, you guys know I got a lot of tabs. So here's some of the notes that I made outside of that particular article I was using as a guide there for MLB The Show. You can load from the PS4 cloud for franchise mode. So that was a little bit of a concern for some people making the switch over from PlayStation 4 to PS4 Pro. Sometimes when you're transferring those saves, especially with the carryover saves, it can be a little bit weird. So like I said, essentially NBA 2K badges. Oh, also about the player quirks, they are dynamic. So if you have a guy who might have started out with the 2-strike badge, but his performance starts to dictate that he doesn't deserve it anymore, he can lose it. And also, I believe they can gain them as well from performances. So I think that's awesome. Now, obviously, and also there's also with the roster updates, guys may gain or lose badges. Now, that's not going to affect your franchise mode, but these player quirks are also going to be in Diamond Dynasty. So that will impact Diamond Dynasty when those updates go forth. They highlight the management task when you first start your franchise mode. So a lot of people may kind of just button through that kind of stuff or didn't know the settings or the options that they had access to. They highlight this at the beginning of the stream. They did it at the beginning of the stream, but they do it when you first start your franchise mode to kind of tell you, okay, what do you want to control? Do you want to control, waiver transactions? Do you want to control trade block? Do you want to control all of this stuff, scouting? What all do you want to control, right? You can skip spring training, which you could do that in before, but a lot of what they're doing is not actually even a new feature. A lot of what they're doing with the show this year is presenting it better. So they're bringing it to the forefront. They're highlighting it. Some people will have a problem with that and say, oh, you didn't change anything. Well, I don't know if I kind of see that. I do kind of see that angle, but on another hand, I kind of think that if you present something better, sometimes that almost is the same value as having a new feature, especially if it's really good and people weren't utilizing it. But I think what would be better is skipping spring training. I mean, I do think you should be able to skip it if you want to, but I think it'd be better if you just made it matter. Spring training just literally doesn't matter in the show. It's like no real reason to play it unless you just want to see some spring training ballparks. There's no real reason to play it. So that's my thing. That's a criticism that I have. I also had a criticism about they need to have relocation. They need to have expansion like NBA 2K. And they also need, obviously, you guys know how I feel. Create a ballpark needs to be there. I think if you had those things in there, we're talking about a franchise mode that is, like I wrote in my Forbes article, it's almost perfect right now. I think we're really, really close to perfect if you add those things. One thing I also like was franchise missions. This is kind of like a guide to what are you trying to accomplish in your franchise mode? With this organization that you got control of, what are you trying to accomplish? Are you looking to, ultimately you got to be trying to win a World Series. And then after that, you got to be trying to win another one. Well, the way the franchise missions are set up, they're like these benchmarks that I could even use like in a YouTube series, but you're just going through line by line. And it's almost like what do you want, like the achievements that you get for playing PS4 or Xbox games. You know how you have the achievement list. Well, this is kind of like that, but it's within your own franchise mode, which I think is really, really cool. You know, it keeps you plugged in all the time. I think it's something like what Madden was trying to do when they had, like, you know, all these different goals for each player and it shows up at the bottom of the screen. Well, a lot of people didn't like it because they felt it was intrusive. I think the way that the show is planning to do this is better. They had 2 legend reveals. Jim Palmer is a 90 overall. Eric Karras is a 91 overall. I think it's the 1973 Jim Palmer. I can't remember which Eric Karras it was. So he's not a part of the announce booth anymore, but he is now a legend. I think the budgets were more realistic, or at least easier to follow, because basically now you see what your cash flow is per week. You get a notification about that cash flow. And you see your cash flow right there dropping on a weekly basis. You add money by getting sponsorships and just flat out winning games. So you start to, so there's obviously a cost of operation, and then there's your income. You want your income to be more than your cost of operation. That's just generally how business works. So you're gonna have to get creative to make that part probably something that most people are going to enjoy. I got some ideas of how I could spin it in a YouTube series to make it not as much of a drag to even talk about. So we'll see how that works. They do have updated face work for the generated players. They don't stick out like sore thumbs as much as they used to. They still don't look great, but they don't stick out as much like they used to. Equipment logic for the generated players. So now they won't just get generic equipment. They'll get some of the cool, flashier stuff that's already in the game. There is a top prospect screen. So it shows all of the top prospects in baseball, basically. So they have a whole list of them that shows up throughout every season. So even as you play forward, you'll see the top prospects no matter what season you're in. They did not give any online franchise news, but it is in the game, but they just didn't give it any on this stream. I guess maybe it's coming later on down the line. We talked about the critical situations. They also do have HDR mode, which is confirmed. So a lot of the PS4 Pro folks or the people who have upgraded to a 4K television and are looking to get that graphics boost, they'll be happy to see that you will be able to have that. And there's even a slider that allows you to adjust the intensity of the HDR impact. So that's what I got for franchise mode. I'm happy about it. I am. I'm pretty excited about what that mode is going to be and can be. I think they've done a really decent job. Like I said, there's still some stuff that needs to be added. That is absolutely 100% the case. But I like what I'm seeing up to this point. So we will see what happens moving forward with franchise mode. As always, I appreciate you watching. God bless. Peace.